Let me say a very special good night to all of you, and thank you for joining us tonight for another edition of Lifeline. And did I say Lifeline? Certainly, we are joining us for Real Talk. That's the Workers' Voice, Real Talk. So it's good to have all of you. Today it is the sixth day in the month of April, 2026. And today is actually Easter Monday. Yeah, been celebrated in Dominica and across the world, many parts of the world. Today is a special day, coming the day after Easter Sunday. And so we want to still wish all of you a happy Easter. Hope that you had a good time. Hope that you had an enjoyable weekend of rest, of relaxation, and that you're set for another week. So it's really good to have all of you tonight. Thank you for joining us. Of course, we have Real Talk every Monday night. Every Monday night, we go from 8 o'clock until 9 o'clock. It is co-hosted by myself with Glenroy Soso Cuffy, the PRO of the United Workers' Party. And from time to time, we do bring persons on board for different perspectives and so on. And we'll keep doing that as we go along the program. So last week, we had a very interesting individual from Portsmouth, Alexon, who was with us as he discussed, situation Dominica from a youth perspective. So it was very good to hear from him, and we are very happy that he was able to be with us. And we are still waiting for Soso Coffee. He will be a couple of minutes late, but we are certainly going to move ahead tonight. And just really thank you for joining us and for being a part. And let me just say as well that it's really good to see to have met so many of you this past week as we continue to do the work, necessary work, as it will, in the various communities around Dominica. So it was indeed a pleasure to have met all of you, and thank you so much, for continuing to encourage us and to be a part of what it is that we are trying to do. The United Workers' Party, of course, is committed to bringing meaningful change to Dominica. We have been going through quite a very difficult time with this government. The past 25 years has been extremely difficult for the people of Dominica. And we've gone through quite a lot of challenges. Tonight, what I'm going to do as we wait for Glenroy Soso, and then because we want to focus tonight really on a very important topic of discussion, it has to do with the buying of votes. We want to talk about the buying of votes because it has become very prevalent here in Dominica. Our diaspora and friends are very happy to accept a ticket and $500 to come down and impose a government on the backs of the people. Local Dominicans are very happy to get a cool out, whether it's a $500 or $1,000 and so on. And they're committed to voting for the Labour Party government. So we want to talk about that because there is something very sinister about accepting a bribe or taking money for your vote. We want to discuss that in depth tonight, but we're going to be doing that later in the program. But that is something we absolutely have to discuss. But I wanted to bring to your attention some very interesting points that came out from the most recent IMF Article 4 mission in Dominica. The IMF, as it does every year, it comes to various islands. They have discussions with the government authorities about the way the economy has been operating in the past year, and they look at economic growth, they look at prospects, they look at fiscal policy, monetary policy, structural reforms, and all of the rest of it. So I was kind of going through the IMF report, of the most recent one, the Article 4 mission, which took place in March of this year, and the report came out about a week ago. And there are certain things that I want to draw to your attention because these are very, very, very important, very vital. One of the things that was highlighted in the report, and I'll give you my take on this, one of the areas highlighted in the report has to do with the Dominica Social Security. All right, and I'm going to get exactly what it says about the Dominica Social Security. I'll tell you what it has to say about it. Very, very important. I want to read it and then we will talk about it because it is part of several measures that have been considered. So they talk about basically enhancing, that's government of Dominica, because normally the Article 4 reflects the views of the government of Dominica as to what they want to do. And most times when you see something come out in Article 4, it either comes up in the budget or some way along the line, it is introduced in the government policy. So it says that enhancing the targeting and efficiency of the social safety net, including through a centralized beneficiary registry and digital payment system, would strengthen sustainability and effectiveness while creating fiscal space. Okay, that's fine. That's what I get to. But listen to this. Pension reforms should also proceed to safeguard long-term system sustainability and mitigate fiscal risks. Now, how do you mitigate fiscal? In other words, how do you take care of these inherent risks within the system, especially as it refers to pension reforms? It says two things: increasing the contribution rates, all right, that's one, reducing replacement rates, that's two, and aligning the retirement age at 65 for all employees. All right. So let me be the first to tell you that under consideration by the government of Dominica is to increase the retirement age from the current 63 to 65. All right. So that is very, very interesting because we've known for a long time that the Dominica Social Security is on the fret. We've known for a long time that because you're not creating employment within the economy, that you have problems. And it talks about the replacement rate. The replacement rate means as persons, retire under the system, as they retire, they're supposed to be replaced by workers who are contributing. Okay. But what is happening now is that those rates are going sky high because persons are retiring, persons are leaving the system, and they're not being replaced. And that's a serious, serious problem. So you have a situation where you're not getting new contributions. Contributions that you were getting previously are no longer there. And persons are now getting older and they're now claiming Social Security. So at the end of the day, you have a huge pressure on the social security system in Dominica. And I want to make this particular issue a significant standalone topic of discussion because I'm not hearing enough from the Dominican authorities about what's going on with the social security. Imagine I've been called by the media in Antigua and Barbuda to discuss the social security situation in Antigua and Barbuda. I've been on Observer Radio on two separate occasions talking about the social security, the pension problem in Antigua and Barbuda. I am able to do that because Antigua and Barbuda, they've made available practically all of the information that I need. So I know everything about the replacement rates. I know about the plans that they have. The government has offered up different areas that they're trying to combat the problem. They've been very upfront about it. They've been upfront that they have a problem with Social Security, and they have talked about how they were trying to do it including more recently talking about getting, investing in some real estate, in some hotel investments that would bring money back into the system of Social Security. So I've been able to contribute very meaningfully to that discussion in Antigua and Barbuda. And here it is, a Dominican in Dominica, very limited because it's hard to get information. I've been searching for information on the Social Security in Dominica, and it's almost like this information has been hidden. But this report from the International Monetary Fund Article Formation tells me everything that I need to know about what is going on in Social Security. It is clear from this report, referring to pension reform in Dominica, that the Social Security system is under threat in Dominica, as is the expectation. Now, I don't need the data to verify that. I can tell from what is going on in the economy. Because the fact that the economy has been so dormant, the fact that very few jobs have been created, the fact that a couple thousand individuals employed within the national employment program who do not contribute towards social security tells you all you need to know. Persons may be working, they're not contributing to the social security. So it's really a few government workers, a few within the private sector. They've tried in the past to get the self-employed persons on board. That is not working too well. So the social security is under stress. And now the government, they are proposing, which should happen relatively soon, to increase the retirement age from 63 to 65. So persons who have been looking forward to taking early retirement, probably at 62, at 60. If you retire at 60, now you have to wait 5 years to get your pension, your full pension. Before, if you retired at 60, you'd have to wait 3 years. Some people do that. They retire at 60, they do something else, and then in 3 years' time, they know that their pension kicks in, and they're okay. But now you're going to have to wait for 5 years. 65 is the age of retirement that has been proposed. 65. All right. And in addition to that, the contribution rates. So, in other words, you are on the same salary with no increases in those salaries. You're going to be asked to pay more. You're going to be asked to contribute more towards social security. All right. So all I can say to the Dominica workers is to tie your waist, be ready, because we are going to see very soon an increase, according to the IMF report, because that's one of the things the government is proposing for pension reforms. Increase, reduce the replacement rates, which really they have no control over because they've not been able to really generate employment to push more people into the system. But you're going to find that really what is happening, as is the case in Antigua and Barbuda as well, you have an increasing, it's like a pyramid, but an upside down pyramid. The number of persons who are retiring are rising relative to the number of persons below who are entering into the scheme, because you have very few employment opportunities. No new jobs are being created. When individuals retire, they are not replaced. They find persons within the existing system to do the work that they were doing. So no new hires are coming out. And because of that, you have a situation where the IMF is saying that the government of Dominica is poised to do pension reform, where they're going to increase the contribution rates. I think it's now 15 cents to the dollar or something. So it's going to go up. I have to get that information spot on so that we can have a further discussion. But whatever it is now, you can expect it to go up. So you're going to be contributing more towards Social Security. But in addition to that, your retirement age is going to increase. Now, I have said that before. Okay, I've been on the program, on this Real Talk program, where I pointed to that as a possibility without even seeing it, knowing it, just knowing the way Social Security works and knowing the fact that in the past, it has been alleged that you've had some government interference in the Social Security system. There has been some allegations around that, all right, so that all of the money is not available to the individuals, okay? So all of that is happening. And that is where I've been very clear. And now the information is there before us. The word is out, and it's just for the Dominican public to look out. But as it is, we are always the last to know. The Dominican public, they're always the last to find out when government is going to take on measures like this. So that's one on the report. All right, that's one which I thought I would start off with and talk about. Very revealing indeed. The second area I wanted to talk about, and that's why somebody reminded me recently that we should stop giving away our plans. I was shocked to see in the IMF report that the exact same language that we have used in our 10 pillars, and bear in mind our 10 pillars came out last year, so there is no contradiction there. And you will also note that the government of Dominica, they have never spoken about transforming the NEP program. It has never been the vocabulary of the government of Dominica. But suddenly, in the Article 4 report, that has become the mantra. And they have used the exact same language that we have used in our 10 pillars. Let me read to you again from the same IMF report, the governments of Dominica's position as it relates to the NEP. All right, so we're talking about different, and we look at the other strategy, but let me look at the one about the NEP. It says that there must be a multi-pronged strategy to broaden revenues and rationalize spending, something that we have been saying over and over again, something that this government seems incapable of doing. So they're talking about, for example, removing some of those huge duty-frees that they're giving to different people and so on. But we'll come to that in a while. Let us focus on the NEP. All right, as part of this multi-pronged strategy. This will require refocusing existing programs toward higher impact uses, and I'm smiling, including redesigning, listen to this, including redesigning the National Employment Program into a skills-based, time-bound, revolving training program. Can you believe this? This is the United Workers' Party's proposal. All of a sudden, it appears in an IMF document ostensibly given by the government of Dominica as a way forward for this country. What the government of Dominica has proposed is contrary, because they actually propose that they're going to absorb all the NEP workers. But we have been saying from day one, when we put forward our 10 pillars, we've been very clear that our intent is to transform, and the exact same words we've used, transform the National Employment Program into a national skills training program. So here you have it. All of a sudden, the government of Dominica is talking about transforming the National Employment Program into a skills training program. This is a program that has been in effect for the past 10 years, at least 10 years. At least 10 years. The government of Dominica was quite content to continue to have the young people, some of whom have gone to college, some of whom have gone to high school, some of whom have their CXCs. They have been quite content to keep these young people cutting grass at the side of the road. And when we came out with our 10 pillars towards shared prosperity and said that is not good enough for young people, that we are going to ensure that we give the necessary skills to our young people, all of a sudden, the government of Dominica is talking about transforming the National Employment Program into a skills program. Now, it is one thing to lift from our proposals and put into your own program. It's another thing to be able to execute it. So that's why I'm not fearful. So that was my response when the individual says, you see, you all should not be putting out there your proposal. I said, but we have to, because we need to let the Dominican public know exactly what it is we plan to do for them. And one of the things we plan to do is to tackle this NEP, to give our young people better opportunities at life, better opportunities at making wealth, better opportunity at generating wealth. That has been a critical point that we've been pushing and pressing. All right. So I am not afraid, as the leader of the United Workers' Party, to continue to put out our plans and our programs. Because even when the government of Dominica steal those plans and programs, even when they take it and pretend that it is their own, they lack the ability to turn it out. They lack the ability to make it work. All right. So I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried. I want them to tell us now how they're going to do it. All right. So now that they've said they're going to do it, let the government of Dominica tell the people of Dominica exactly how they're going to transform the National Employment Program into a national skills training program. Let us see. What areas are they going to focus on? where they're going to focus on, what ages they're going to focus on, how they're going to do it, how they're going to pay for it, how they're going to integrate these people into the system. Let me hear the comment of Dominica say, because it is one thing, as I said, to steal the ideas of another party, quite another to be able to carry it on. All right. So that is very, very interesting. That is very, very, very interesting indeed. So we are moving along. We want to look at some of the aspects of the IMF program or the IMF report. It is clear from the report they are projecting a significant reduction in the CBI revenues, and they continue to warn us, as they've done in the past, that the reforms to reduce reliance on CBI revenues, including limiting discretionary import duty exemptions, enhancing VAT yields, introducing a solid waste fee, and strengthening tax administration and compliance. So we are going to have a situation where we are going to see, or the proposal at least is for the government of Dominica to introduce a solid waste fee, among other things, to try to catch up for the CBI revenues, because they're projecting that there should be a significant fall in the CBI revenues in the next couple of years. In fact, the projection that by 2027, CBI revenues will be only half as much as they were 5 years ago. Okay, so there is an expectation that the CBI revenues will be declined, will continue to decline, and now, as proposals, but these are not good enough. These are not going to be able to pick up the slack. So just having a waste solid waste fee, for example, is not going to cut it. All right, and so that's the reason why we think so. We're gonna come back to that. Good to have you, So. Good evening.
Yes, good evening to you, Doc. And are you hearing me clearly?
Loud and clear.
Right. And sorry for this lady. I had to move from one spot to the next, so I had to get going. And it is. When you're in cities, you're not accustomed to. Yeah, but Doc, welcome
Yes,
to
indeed.
and I know, that's what it is like when in the absence of one person, somebody else can do it. When one plane crashes, it doesn't prevent the other from flying. When one man falls, it doesn't prevent the other from rising. So, we are human. We can do what we have to do, but by and large, better late than never.
Absolutely. So basically, in your absence, I was discussing the IMF report. In particular, we looked at the recommendations for reform, pension reforms, and the proposal is to increase the minimum wage from 63 years to 65.
Right.
And to also increase the contribution rates and to reduce the replacement rate. So there are three proposals that we've mentioned before already as coming down the pipe, because we get the sense that the social security system as it is now is not sustainable. The only difference is, and I highlighted the fact that I've been able to comment on radio in Antigua and Barbuda about their social security program, because they have made information available. They are not hiding anything. The government has been upfront as to the problems that they have in Dominica. It's a very different situation. They pretend as if everything is okay, nothing is the problem. But we know now from the report in the IMF that social security seems to be under some serious, serious problems. And persons may very well soon have issues even getting their pensions when it is due them. So that is a realization that we have this issue.
Yes. Yes, and I'm happy that you were able to bring this to the fore, because I was just about asking the question that, and knowing that is your area of strength, it appears that some time ago, a question was put to the Social Security. They had some outreach program on the radio. And I believe I called and I said, look, I asked, how does this, how possibilities that can the social security sustain its program and the ability to pay people back? And I was just asking whether or not, if you have a decrease in employment, if that can factor in and if that is a problem. And somebody was quick to say, no, I don't know who they were defending. But doc, it is written and it is known that if you less people you have working, is the less contributions that go forward. And so sometime in the future, you will have the social security be under some pressure to actually meet its monthly
Yeah,
commitment.
yes,
You
obviously,
know?
because bear in mind, you are taking out all the time because people are retiring, right? Persons who have contributed faithfully over the years are retiring, and now is the time to give them the money back, or at least part of it. So they're taken out of the system if that money is not being replaced. Because I was making the observation as well, even where persons are retiring, in some cases they're not replaced.
They are not
Instead of
replaced.
replacing them, they spread the work out among the existing workers. So that individual who is now claiming social security does not have somebody to replace them to continue that contribution that they were making. All
Right.
right. So if you multiply it across sectors, government sector, the private sector, and so on, you're going to have a situation where you are in some serious problem. And that's exactly what we're experiencing now. And
Right.
then we also spoke so interestingly about the transforming the NEP into a national skills training program. Something that we have been pushing very,
Oh,
very
yes.
hard for 10 years. And now we're seeing it appear in an IMF document. It appears that the government may be considering that to do that transformation because they're under some pressure. CBI obviously is on its way out, and we were just discussing some of the measures that they put forward to really combat the reduction in the CBI. One of them is VAT yields. How do you, in other words, they're telling government that they need to do a better job of ensuring that they get the VAT payments that people are making. So persons pay their VAT religiously. Every time you buy a sweetie, an ice pop, anything you buy in this country, you pay VAT on it. The question is whether or not those monies that are being paid by you on the cost of an ice cream, whether that those monies have been collected by the government. So that's a compliance issue. That's a collections issue that the Inland Revenue Services need to focus on. And it's clear that they're saying that you have a lot of loopholes there, because if you look at the trend in our the VAT rates in our VAT collections, it has not risen by much. Of course, one of the major reasons is the stagnant economy. Notwithstanding the recommendation or the estimate for growth in the same report by the IMF is for at least a 3.5% to 4% growth rate this year. But we have already talked about the fact that this is not the kind of growth that we're seeing is on account of the airport project, the geothermal project, so big capital projects where the monies are not coming back necessarily into the economy. These monies, there's a severe leakages out of the economy, and so it is not as impactful. And we've always stressed as well that for a country like Dominica, if you're going to generate the kind of wealth, the kind of opportunities, that the economy should be growing by at least 7 to 8%. So we are still way off target. We are still where we will continue to struggle, and especially if the CBI revenues falter and fall to the levels that they've been projected to fall, that you're going to have some very serious problems.
Yes, and I just want to say too that it is customary that this government politicize everything. I mean, it is not now that the United Workers' Party have been proposing that we do away, not just do away, but find other lucrative areas for the NEP workers to find themselves. Because by now they should have been moved they should have been going up a higher area, which means that there's no scope with what they do presently with respect to upward mobility. And we have been always saying, look, you need to fit them in various areas, in different institutions, various government departments. Let them become permanent workers. Let them get their social security and everything. And if the government was listening, they would have done that long time. Because at the time the CBI was booming, I don't know how now they can sustain long-term employment now. And not that we're saying to stop. We have to go forward, but I'm just concerned about, and many persons will be concerned about sustainability of it. Because now that the resources have been depleting, then it is a challenge for them. So they will want to, it is a vote catching thing right now, I believe, in their minds, because they want to make people think as though they want to make their work permanent. We wish that that is the case, but we had to know how to do it. But Doc, you believe that because you already spoke on that. I know, Doc, election rigging is an important, it has been an integral part of our system since the Labour Party came in government. Whether you have pre-election rigging, whether you have election day rigging, or whether you have post-election rigging. However, Doc, what is important is that is the crucial point we want to make there tonight, that we know the consequences of voting. Voting has consequences. And so when we make decisions based on we being bribed, or we receive a bribe for the government and we go forward, we have to now bear the consequences for the next 5 years. And consequences that you will highlight for us. What are the implications of people who actually take pride in accepting a bribe and pay the consequences later? Because there's nothing happening for Dominicans. And I would really like you to just, touch on this, because it's very important and people should know the value of the vote. And it matters. Voting matters, but voting has consequences. What do you say about this?
There was a time in Dominica where persons could only vote based upon their land holdings. So the majority of the Dominican population could not engage in voting until we had universal suffrage in the late 60s and were able to vote. But what I like about the early voter in Dominica, these were individuals who were they were very wise in that they understood the value of that vote. And so when in the late 60s, a very promising politician by the name of Edward Oliver Leblanc, a young man, came on the scene, promising to revitalize the agriculture sector, promising to put money into the pockets of the Dominican public through agriculture. The persons who had this vote agreed that they were going to vote for him. And no amount of pressure, would cause them to vote for some of the other individuals who were offering themselves off at the time. And so Edward Leblanc succeeded in gaining the majority of the votes and in it being able to form the government. And it was Edward Oliver Leblanc who led the revolution in agriculture that transformed the Dominican landscape. He built feeder roads. He introduced and strengthened the banana industry in Dominica. And what it did, Soso, is that it immediately opened up the way for us. And I say for us, children of the 60s and the 70s, we benefited directly because our parents who had used their votes wisely and who were not paid for their votes, but who were voting in the best interest of their future and of their children, they decided that they would take this vote for Leblanc because he was promising a revolution in agriculture. And what that did, it meant that the average person in the countryside in particular could now send their children to school. They could now pay their way so that my parents on agriculture were able to send their 11 children to school. You have examples across Dominica, create opportunities for our generation because they valued that vote. And they gave the vote to a person who promised that they would be able to fix the economy and create opportunities for them. And that is what transformed Dominica. That is what transformed Dominica. And that's why when you see what is happening now, it is really painful because you have a new generation that does not seem to understand how precious that vote is. They don't seem to understand the value that that vote has, so that they can easily give it up to someone who now promises them a $500 and a ticket to come into Dominica. They can easily give it up to someone who promises them a $300 or $500. One of the beautiful things of the 70s or so is that our parents never had to go to government
Never.
get anything from the government for to send the children to school. There was no going to your pal rep or to your government to give you a school bag or book or pencil. That was done by parents because they were working. And it is very interesting that some 50 years later, you have another leader in myself, leader of the Dominica, of the United Workers' Party in Dominica, offering a similar choice to the people of Dominica. Because we understand the value that agriculture still holds to this country. We understand that by having agriculture as at the center of our 10 pillars, that we can once again create that opportunity for parents to be able to take care of the needs of the children so that they can send the children to school. They can create the education foundation that their children need. They can pay for them if they need, they have their land. They can then go to the bank, take a little loan so that the child can go overseas if they need to further their education. And so that is what we are offering. And that is why I thought it is very important tonight for us to discuss this issue of the selling of the vote and the sacredness of that vote. Because at the end of the day, as we've seen repeatedly, election cycle after election cycle, where we have sold our vote, what have we got in return? We don't have an economy that is growing. We don't have a generation of young people who are able now to take care of the children the way their parents took care of them. We don't have any of that. We have an economy in ruin because our voters have sold out that sacredness of that vote. And that's what's at stake. So it's not as simple as just thinking, oh, okay, well, they offer me, and sometimes you go to individual and you tell me, you'd really appreciate that if they could vote for you because you have a plan to rebuild this country, a plan to bring back employment, a plan to make way. Some of our individuals, they are so far gone, they can't even appreciate that message. They will say, yeah, I hear you, but what's in it for me? I want something now. What can I get out? What can I get now? Because they've been, under this Labour Party government, they've been made to believe that your vote is for sale. Whether you are residing overseas, we'll give you a ticket. You can come down, we give you $500. You sell your vote to us. Whether you're in Dominica, you go into the booth, you take a picture of your vote, we give you $500. That is what we have reduced our vote for. That is what we have reduced the sweat and the pain and the suffering that our people came through. But like I said, that is at a price. It is at a price that has been paid so very heavily.
Yes, a heavy price. And
By
I was
way of,
just saying, yeah, and it's interesting that you would receive $5,000, right? Some people don't understand, and I don't need maths right now because I like to take it for the 5 times 360 days. I want to get the maths done right. That's 1,800 days because the election cycles over like 5 years. So 5 by 365 days, 365 by 5, you get 1,825 days. But somebody gave you $5,000. You see, $5,000. Let's divide that. 1825. That's $2.70 a day. That's $1 US per day. And it is known that in most of South American countries, they work for just about $2 US a day. So that is what actually you'll be getting when somebody gives you $5,000 to vote, but you have to stop over 5 years. You get nothing else, and you have to wait for the next 5 years to get something. So do the maths. $2.70 per day, $1 US per day. Now, if you are provided a job and 365 days, just say you work about 300 days in the year, just 300 days, and I put it at $60, right? 6 3 is 18, that's $18,000. Multiply now 18 by 5. 5 8's 40, 5 1's 5, and 4 90. That would have been $90,000 you would have accrued if a responsible government had allowed you to work and to save your money and to earn. So compare $90,000 that we in the United Workers' Party, for the ordinary man, let's say at $60 per day, who work 300 days in a year, maybe construction, something like that, you would have earned $90,000 at the end of the 5 years. Compare that to $5,000 or $2 US a day. When you look at it, it would be $60 a day you get. So people, elections have consequences, and we must be mindful as to what we do, how we act, because it come back and haunt us. Now, if you had done 10 years work, 10 years work, that would be $180,000. You could have bought a piece of land. You could have bought a piece of land, right? You could have bought a piece of land, pay for the piece of land, maybe start doing some construction. The government could have come in and help you. But the government doesn't want you to be like that. They want you in begging mode. So that's what we're talking about when we say elections have consequences. And another example again, the government will impose taxes on you. When taxes are imposed by the government, it impacts on every individual, even the unborn child, because Pampers price goes up. And that child is in the mother's stomach. The child has not been born yet, but that child has to feel that impact. And so we must be really mindful about the implications that and the consequences that election have. And it is not, we are mature enough, big enough not to sell our vote. So I'm happy, Doc, that you were able to actually bring that up. And just before he probably does, maybe add something, I would just want to ask you that question now, because it appears to me that you could have been somewhere else in the world. And the world needs you. A world-renowned economist, I believe that is established. We know that you have done a lot of work. But Doc, what have spurred you? What have spurred you to take interest in coming to stand for country with the United Workers' Party? Because we are just a party, yes, but Dominicans come first. People come first. That's what you are standing for. That's what we're going for. People come first. And with this 10-pillar plan and shared prosperity, you expect a brighter day for people, a better quality of life for people. But what could have spurred you? Because you don't have to be there. So you need to tell us clearly what has spurred you to be in this thing. Because it's not an easy road, but I'm sure you would have recognized that Dominicans need change. So you must have a story to tell us tonight.
So it's very interesting that you raised that, because for me, as an economist, I've been extremely fortunate. Firstly, fortunate that Edward Olive Limbla was the premier in '67, and then became the chief minister, then became the premier in '70. Opened up agriculture, which enabled our parents then to be able to send us to school and give me an early education. And is from that basis I was able now to go overseas, train as an economist, and not only train as an economist, but to get a job that allowed me to go to scores of countries. I mean, several countries within Africa, even as far away as Afghanistan, Ghana, Lesotho, Swaziland, Niger, Benin, just you name it, country after country where I was able to go. But one of the things in all of those countries as an economist, and working, either doing fiscal policy or helping the government to come to some kind of strategy, for example, as I did in St. Kitts and Nevis with their debt program. In all of these countries, I realized that, hey, yeah, I am helping all of these countries in some way. I'm making a contribution to those countries, very meaningful contribution to those countries. But I'm in a country that is paralyzed. I'm in a country that, even the generation after me have not excelled to the same degree that our generation excelled. It's almost like this government came in and the dreams of the young people were immediately shut off, because they have shown over the past 25 years an inability to transform the economy. And I'm thinking, well, here it is. I have this skill set. I'm able to come up with ideas and policy measures and so on, understand the way the economy works, understand fiscal economics, understand monetary economics, understand international economics, get a good sense as to how you can help create jobs, you can generate activity, how we can move countries out of poverty, as we did, as we continue to work, for example, for 3 years in Niger, one of the poorest countries in the world. So with that kind of experience, and being able to, and let me just say, as I talk about Niger, I was able to publish in 2006, did some groundbreaking work on how you can grow, looking at the example of Niger and how it has struggled over all the years to transform itself and to grow. Out of that experience, was able to publish with a fellow economist, Jean-Claude Nachega. We were able to publish one of the most highly referenced um, articles or research papers now on growth in Africa. All right, so we're able to contribute to that, and being able to do that not only in a very practical way, but also through research and publishing of critical work. And I'm saying, but wait a minute, there is something that I can offer to my country, and I think now I am in that position. And the question people ask, well, they say, well, why did you just go work with government? Well, at some point that was offered. At some point I offered my services to the government of Dominica, you know. But the fact of the matter is this particular prime minister feels threatened by anybody whom he thinks knows more than him or who he believes would probably outshine him. So my offers were never taken on board. But I see an opportunity now with the United Workers' Party, a party whose ideals and ideas I can closely align with, having seen the record of performance during 1995 and 2000 in terms of what they did, the policies that they adopted, the strategies that they adopted, how they went about creating wealth for the people of Dominica. So those kind of policies very closely align with what I believe I can contribute. So it makes sense now as leader of the party to offer those services. And that's the reason why. So one of the first things that I wanted to do as the leader was to put forward a program that the people of Dominica can buy into. One that is not just a frivolous program, but one that is born from countless years of experience. I've been working as an economist for over 30 years now.
Wow.
So this is one that is born out of this kind of experience, to be able to bring that to bear in an economy the size of ours, a country the size of ours. And so that is what I definitely can offer to the people of Dominica. And so that is what it is. It's about ensuring that we can make this contribution in a selfless manner, in a manner that is born out of the experience and the competence that comes with doing this in a very practical way, even in a research-oriented way as well, putting out this work there, yeah. So if you go online, for example, and you Google, you just Google the topic, GDP growth in Niger, my name, and it will come up. It's one of the most quoted articles, and research papers. People looking at how you can transform those kind of economies. So this is something so that I'm very happy that I can offer to the people of Dominica, along with a very competent team that we have within the United Workers' Party, people like yourself, like Claudius, and other economists, other persons that have come forward and that will be coming forward as we go along, because as we move along, more and more people are coming on and joining us, that we can make that contribution. So I'm very excited about it, but it's something that I always wanted to do, and always remembering where I came from, always, being conscious of my very humble upbringing, and knowing the tremendous importance of agriculture in making me what I am today. And so it is about giving back. It is about, committing to the people of Dominica that we can do this, that we can do better than we're doing now. And it's about really transforming this country. Dominica, I keep saying, one of the most beautiful countries in the world, but beyond that, is one of the most endowed countries in the world, right? Dominica is one of the countries that has some of the most uh, resources anywhere in the globe. Okay, and if you look at the resources that we have, rich agricultural lands that we can foster our agriculture industry, you have water for every day of the year. You have a river, water in abundance from under the earth, from over the earth, from above the earth. You have water, just name it in Dominica. So you can transform that in a big way. You have a human resource that is educated, that can contribute, that can be trained, they can be given the skills. So we have what it takes to transform this country. We have what it takes to transform this economy. And that is why I'm extremely excited about the prospects that we have now in terms of being able to transform Dominica, in terms of able to bring hope to the people of Dominica, in terms of being able to really do well by the people of Dominica. And so it's a great opportunity for us to continue to build, a great opportunity for us to continue to really talk to the people of Dominica. And that's why it is so painful when people just disregard all of that and they allow their vote to be sold. So I'd really like to make an appeal tonight to the people of Dominica. I would really like to make an appeal to all of you, to the people of Dominica. Please honor your vote, value your vote. Don't allow a politician to allow you to sell your vote and sell the future of your children and the future of this country. We've wasted 25 years of non-performance, and we need to break that. We need to break that cycle. And the way we are going to break it is through an election that brings in a new party, that brings in the United Workers' Party, that we can triumph this particular effort and ensure that we bring this stability, growth, and development to our country.
Yes, and Doc, well said, because and somebody else just texted me there, taking a message and some call. The person say, it is amazing. That person said, I traveled to Barbados some time ago and was having a conversation with a top government official. And this official was saying, although the official is in the Labour Party, he's saying, but he can understand Dominicans. How could you have an economist of such caliber and not voting that man and a team to fix? The man has been all over the place. In fact, he was actually telling the person, and the person saying there, that he may not have worked with us directly, but we learn from some of the things that he has done for St. Kitts and some of the other places. So, Doc, yeah, it is. And I just cannot understand how it is that Dominicans can understand that there is someone now fit and ready to get it done, the job done. But you're not a guy who boasts. We will get all what you have done so far set up, because we want, when we just Google world-renowned economist Dr. Thomson Fontaine, that will see all your work. I know.
Yes, you can. Yes. So in fact, somebody's asking now how they can get my publication. Simply just go online. You can just put Thomson Fontaine. Just Google Thomson Fontaine.
Just Google.
Come up.
Yeah.
Or you can put Thomson Fontaine IMF publications, and it will come up.
Yeah. But we need now we will organize what would have to be done. Once you click on Tom, you'll see the world, what you talk about world we know. But we'll get that done. But somebody saying there, Dominicans keep asking the opposition to share their ideas and say what it is they will do for the country. However, this is why the opposition cannot always share everything. The Labour Party government is bankrupt of ideas and continues to steal the opposition's proposals. Sometimes word for word, and that's true word for word. Even now, the Prime Minister is talking about shared prosperity. He was taking for himself and his people. But now he talk about shared prosperity. Since when he's sharing? You have a house in Vegas, right? You have a house in Fontaine. This government renting for you. Look at all the world that you build in another house in front that you were not sharing. You have all of a sudden you talk about shared prosperity. Mr. Scarrett, leave our words in peace.
But shared prosperity is the motto of our 10 pillars.
But I'm telling you, and now he's using it. He's just lost control. And somebody else is saying there, let's get it right, that go to the IMF reports of previous years. The IMF had been addressing NEP and government been saying about transformational to skills-based. Thus, not from NEP. Go and see IMF reports. And in fact, yes, Doc, the IMF has been saying that. And one person saying that a set of copycats copying is one thing, but executing is another. And I'll agree. Those gens not simple, everywhere in the world has gens. What do you call it, gens? Just lazy and want people to give them things.
You know what?
No, I can take it back. Let's read it. Take it easy. Yeah. Different to those of us from 70s and go back. And let me just say I denounce that, because people are found in survival mode, and I know you're going to comment on this, but we don't condone this kind of onslaught on our people, because it is something else when you're offered something and taking it. And I know in the hearts of many persons, it's not solely wanted their life, but because the opportunities are not availing to them to transform their lives, they have resorted to some of these things. But I know you're going to say something. So
I wanted to vigorously defend the young people. I don't think our people are lazy.
Yeah,
because these same individuals, they go overseas and they work 2, 3 jobs
that's right.
and they make it, so it's not a matter of the problem is that the opportunities are there. When I talk to the young people in my village, they want to work, they want
Right.
opportunities. All they want to do is to get the opportunity to work. So to say that the people are lazy, I would say that those opportunities have not been created for them. During our time, opportunities were created for us because we had governments that were mindful about taking care of the needs of the people. That has since gone out of the window. We have a government that is selfish, egoistic, and looking after their own interests. 2, 3, 4 mansions is not enough. That is a different mindset altogether in terms of, it's different when you have a government that is looking out for the people, creating opportunities for the people, and a government that is just taking everything onto themselves. So that is a big difference. So I definitely will rise in defense of our young people, because I know that when the United Workers Party assumes government and we create those opportunities, they will do the work. They will, because they will understand that by working, they'll be able to generate the kind of wealth and the kind of opportunities that they want for themselves and for their families. So I'm not too concerned about that. I believe that our young people still have within them the desire to work and to make something of their lives.
You are correct. And someone is saying that if you could organize something like child tax benefit, I think the young people with children would appreciate and would love to vote for that. Well, but remember, that would be like a social program again. Within on the state, there are ways that can be, the government can, and we will not say everything, but we will incentivize the sector so that people can have the benefits of such. For those of us, another person said, for those of us who listen in and don't know much about your publication, can you please them, advise how we can get it? You just said that already. And then someone is saying, good evening to distinguished gentlemen for Dominica, gross carrot. But PM, yes, carrot and his team must vacate office because they are already just putting Dominicans under pressure, and they are innocent Dominicans under real pressure, and that is just too much what he say. Someone saying this again, those Haitians doing farming and security in the night, same thing we doing in the US. We have 8 to 4 jobs, then go and do Uber and security job and cleaning job. We have to encourage them to hustle. Yeah, and that is what we are saying. Our people need to get the ethics of work right. And that is why we are saying, if you had a working government and putting the right policies in place, then people will have a choice. People do not have a choice right now because one way it is. No way, no job opportunity. The government is not even small businesses. The amount of small businesses have been closed. Mostly every time in Dominica, when you look at it, most of the businesses were owned by Dominicans. Today, look at it. Who own the businesses in town? The Chinese. And we are thankful for those who have survived over the years, the hardware companies, the electrical companies. So I think, Doc, by and large, we have work to do, and people are recognizing that, yes, there is a viable alternative in the United Workers Party, and we are poised and ready to take over the reins of government to transform this economy.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's the bottom line. That's the bottom line. We are ready, we are able, capable, and willing to put our shoulders and do what we have to do. And I think so. So that's it. That's probably why there is so much opposition. It seems when you are into getting things done, you seem to suddenly come up against all sorts of oppositions and all sorts of things. And it seems a lot of the tribulation that we are going through has to do with the fact that there is a lot that's going to come out of us to transform this country, and it's not going to be easy. And so the path that we are upon is not an easy one, but one in which we are committed to the end, and we'll continue to push and do what we have to do.
Yes, and I take this last comment before we put on the curtain on the program. We must implement a system of mentoring to prepare the youth for the workforce. And I mean, you mentioned that, and that is a very good point. In fact, just as we say that, I recognize the person who said that there, Mr. Peter Carbon. In fact, in his time as agricultural minister, when he served under the United Workers Party, we had a young farmer training program whereby we recognized that, the traditional heads would be getting a time to rest and now would have needed a sort of replacement, a transition. And so we're preparing young people and mentoring young people to take up the reins of agriculture, so that they would have transited easier and smoothly when the older family traditional heads would have expired their time in working. And so that is what we're talking about in terms of mentoring young people. And this and another comment there, the government has entirely shifted the social fabric in this country. The leaders of this country are not working themselves. It's a bunch of smokes and mirrors. That is why it is easy to just give handouts and payouts for people to support them. I agree with that. It's a lot of what they call song bites and a lot of empty platitudes of this government, and we know that. But Doc, we have been doing what we have to do, and we are asking for the
Yes, sorry.
support of the
So
public.
talking about doing what we have to do, as you mentioned on a lighter note, and you talked about the internships and the agriculture program. So I was driving through your area there in the Layu Park area.
Oh yes,
We went there and took a video of the really horrendous roads that are there. I
yes,
mean,
yes.
it took almost an hour to drive 2 miles of road there. It's just horrible. So I post that video online, and then all of a sudden I see a statement from the government saying, "Oh, they were all along they were going to pave the road." I'm like, "What? Really? 25 years you've not paved?"
25 years way like that. 25
I
years like
just
that.
I just happened to go when the avatar was being restarted, you know, and I took the video. It went viral. Obviously, it went viral, and suddenly there's a report. Hey, we are just grandstanding, and so we are going to fix the road. Well, fix it.
Yeah,
That's what it is. Because that whole area, in terms of agriculture, was one of the top areas in agriculture. Bringing in the millions of dollars, and all of that is in disrepair right now. So we are going to do it. So whether the government does it or not, the Workers' Party will do it, because that's a critical part of our efforts. That area there in Layu Park, Home, and all the other areas of Dominica, the heights of Salisbury, to put back the roads, the feeder roads, and the major roads that will, generate that economic activity.
and it's interesting. We can still get time to discuss that, because the abattoir, they boast about the $6.4 million that they plowing back into it, but they cannot tell us, because remember too, it is not just about the refurbishment and putting more equipment, which is good to enhance the place. Yes, it's good. But the point is, remember, the abattoir was operational before. And remember, there were no profits. And remember, the financial secretary or the auditors had concerns with the reporting, and that the financial statements were not in order. And in fact, it was said by the auditors that the abattoir reporting was not in compliance with what actually the Financial Act states. So therefore, that was in this report. And they cannot tell us that the abattoir itself contributed. The proceeds of the abattoir had contributed to that $6.54 million augmentation. You cannot tell us that. You know why? Because they were operating, the abattoir was, in fact, you had more expenditures than you had profits. And so they cannot boast of that. So you had more light burning, ministers coming for their meat every Christmas. I know that for a fact. Give me meat for their constituents. Nothing wrong with that. But I know some of them they were taking the meat for family. Every minister was going for his meat at the abattoir. How can you run a business like that? You see, the government strategy, they want to invest, they will not put it in private hands, because they know that is straight business. But don't get fooled by that abattoir. They will still go back and get more meat. They will go back and get more meat. But I just hope the farmers can take this seriously. Let me urge the farmers to get into the production of poultry, get into the production and rearing of pigs, get into the production and rearing of cattle, and go and try to get things done. And Dominicans, we must purchase what we have. We must consume what we have locally. If the abattoir is growing and we can buy local meat, it is even more healthier for our consumption. It's healthier for our health. That we want to see. But I hope the $6.4 million is not something we're just going to talk about. This has to be result-oriented. We want results. We want to see now a profitable operating institution of the abattoir. So as we say in that, we want to say to you Dominicans that you have to support the United Workers' Party, and we have been appealing. We still have a lot of work to do with respect to our court matter, the CBI matter in court. The government has to make a declaration. The court has mandated that, look, they have to come up with something, and they have to tell Dominicans what they do with their CBI money. We are saying we have bills to pay. We need to run things on your behalf. So we are saying to you, take note, our mobile banking ID is 555-2242, and our account number is 1005636. You could also go online, UWP website, uwp-dominica.com, click on donation, and here you go. You give something substantial, you give something from the bottom of your heart, and you give something that can sustain us through. Again, another appeal to you that our Bo Banking ID 555-2242. Our account number to this is 1005636. You go to the UWP website, uwp-dominica.com, click on donation, and here you go. And by the way, let me just say to you, Dominicans who have been supporting the United Workers' Party over the years with respect to court matters, I can tell you it has gone a long way. We have not wasted your time. You have been doing well for us. And thank God that God gave you the strength and health to work hard, to earn, and to share. And so we ask that God multiply your fold to give you quadruple the amount that you so desire. So, Doc, with that said, your closing remarks?
Well, just to say, good night to all, and thank you so much for listening. And again, to appeal to the Dominican public, please value your vote. Don't allow your vote to be sold. Value your vote. Invest in a party that has your best interests. Invest in a government that can take this economy from ruin to much higher heights, that can create wealth, create opportunities, put money into the pockets of the people of this country. That's how you value your vote. If you do that, then it will be better for the country, it will be better for you, it will be better for future generations. That's what I want to do tonight. A simple appeal. Value your vote, vote for a party that has the best interest of this country at heart.
Yes, and it is the United Workers' Party. We all say good night to you. Thanks again for participating. We touch on a number of issues. We talk about, the IMF report and the implications for Dominica. We also talk about the importance of your vote, and voting has implications. And so you need to do better than that. And Dr. Thomson Fontaine again has testified before you why he's taking interest in this thing. He doesn't really have to be there. So let us just come together, Dominicans, collectively. Remember, shared prosperity. People come first. That is important. People come first. And so with that being said, we say good night. Until next time, this has been Real Talk with our political leader, Dr. Thomson Fontaine, world-renowned economist. Until such time, again, we say good night. Adios. Hasta luego.
Good night.
Good night.